It's Friday, September 14th. I'm your co-host for today. My name's Rebecca. Adam has been up to a couple of different things. We're going to find out what that is. It's been a while since the last episode. That was a couple weeks ago, but who's counting? So basically, he needs to start doing this podcast again. And I am rallying for the people. So listen up, because this is not life with Adam S. Messinger.
If you're reading saga or crying from the muir, he'll deliver a sunset flip, so hold secure. He's got comic books and wrestling all night. This is not live with Adam Messinger. Adam S. Messinger.
So Adam.
Yes, my love.
You want to tell everyone what you've been doing?
There's been a lot of sitting at my house.
A lot of sitting.
A lot of sitting.
A lot of sleeping.
A lot of sleeping. I've been, as you guys know, last you guys heard, I did have shoulder surgery. It took a whole lot more out of me than I thought it would. I tried to just get back the next week, and that was not happening. Between that and physical therapy, had appointments every week. I just really need to kind of take a hiatus.
A timeout.
Very much a timeout, and I was sad, but it needed to happen.
Yeah.
That's generally how I operate anyhow. I'm really bad about commitment, and I'll do something for like 3 months, and that's probably about it. That's about all the commitment you can get out of me.
So this is
for any
pattern.
given thing. Oh, it is. It's a terrible pattern. It's a terrible pattern. It's one I've had a lot of my life. There's this time I was working out.
You?
Yeah. And I did it for about 3 months. And I was like, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do this no more. And then I moved on to something else.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that you're great at starting projects and you have terrible follow-through.
Terrible. Like the worst.
Yeah, well.
It's part of why I'll never be a parent, because that shit's a 24/7 job. And as you just heard, like 3 months, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, I'm done with this. Here, kid, you can go back to where you came from. And it don't work like that.
No, you can't return them back from whence they came.
No.
It's generally a one-way street.
But see, with like projects like this shit, it sits there, it waits on you. The crowd probably does not, and they move on to shit that's not this. But, you know, I can come back to it.
Well, we're waiting. The fans are waiting.
The fans
I'm
are waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, I miss, coming home from work, driving on my way home, and listening to the podcast.
I appreciate that.
It was a routine. It was a routine for me.
Yeah,
so...
you're kind of my biggest fan. And I'm grateful for it. And should we tell them about our trip?
Yeah, so we just did a trip recently. We went to Portland, Oregon. We went to Rose City Comic Con, and that was tons of fun. It was a 3-day Comic Con convention. I had never done... I'm a newbie, basically. This was the second convention I've ever gone to, and this was our first convention together.
It really was. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so I know you've been mentioning a lot the last couple days how this is the first convention you've gone to in a couple of years.
Yeah, I did. I felt like I did all kinds of cons. Gosh, at one point I was going to SatCon a bunch because they run SatCon out in Sacramento 4 times a year. I would do Silicon Valley or Big Wow, Stockton Con. A few years I did Emerald City and WonderCon. But I just feel like cons stopped being special, and I just kind of really lost interest, especially as I'd met almost everybody I'd wanted to meet. So this was a whole lot different, though, because I got to meet those people again with you. And that was...
Did that make it new for you?
It did.
Uh-huh.
It did. It did make it new for me. And the other thing that really surprised me was getting to say hi to those creators and having them... I mean, they don't know me, but they knew my name. And that was fucking weird, but cool. It was. That's
probably what astounded me the most, is that people, even if... I mean, most of the time people are two different ways. They either remember your name or they remember your face. And a lot of these people, it was like they remembered your face and your name. And I was so impressed. I'm like, there's so many people that they must meet every year. You know, these people go to these Comic-Con conventions. They probably go to a good handful every year. And to see so many faces and to remember you, that to me says something.
It's also social media, in this age of social media where you can interact with people.
That's true.
I remember out in Emerald City, my first or second year, there was this artist I'd never met, but I had been a fan of his work. And I said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so." And he goes, "Oh, okay, I've seen your name running around Twitter."
Really?
Yeah. And that was the first time I was like, well, that's weird. He knows me, but he doesn't know me.
Yeah.
So, but it was kind of cool, and like seeing a lot of that this time.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. So there are a couple of different things I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
The first, you were awesome because you got us into this Comic-Con convention with essentially us not having to pay any tickets to get in. We got in on press passes.
Well, I mean, honestly.
So do you want to talk about how, like, I guess not necessarily how that happened, but do you want to talk about how you were doing the circuit for a while and you were doing the same thing. You were using press passes to get in and you were actually working.
Yeah.
It wasn't just you going just for fun. It was you actually working. You were doing something. You were being proactive.
A lot of the times it was a tit for tat system. I would either go through Bleeding Cool, and Rich Johnston was super awesome, and he would always look out for me and make sure I got in. And I did my best most of the time to get him an article in return. And same with Shabir. Shabir would send me out, and I would, this time it was Shabir over at Comic Buzz, and he was kind enough to let us go do an article for the site, and in return, we were able to get in and get access to the pros and all that, and not have to worry about paying for the con.
Which was pretty rad. I mean, not that it was super expensive, but it was...
Well, for a 3-day pass, gosh, we probably saved, between the two of us, like $100.
Yeah, actually, yeah. That's true. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was... So what delivered for you? Did you have any expectations? There was a really good list of people who were there this year.
I had no expectations going into this because a lot of the time I go in just wanting to meet people, and I kind of have I'm going to go here, meet this person, get this sign, go here, do this, da-da-da-da. But this year I was very content with just going wherever with you and doing whatever and not having a game plan going into it and just having fun and like wanting to get stuff signed but not really having any pressure to do so, and just meeting people.
Yeah it was very laid back, which I really appreciate, because the first convention I did, which was a couple weeks ago, I did Stockton Con, and it was 2 days, and I bought a 2-day pass. The first day was packed. It was a lot of people. Being a first-time convention goer, that was like really overwhelming. I don't know anything about do's and don'ts, or that you should have a game plan. And as you know, James O'Barr was there, and a couple of other people that you really liked. So you kind of sent me with a little mini mission, and that actually helped me a lot. And
you fucking delivered in spades too. I was really shocked. Like, I straight told her, like, these are cool things, I guess, but go do your thing, go have fun, go enjoy this convention, and like my shit is completely secondary, and if it doesn't get done, I'm more than okay with that, because at the end of the day, I just want you to have fun and enjoy your first convention.
But it helped.
It did?
It did. It helped. Because that was leading to my other question, is like, you usually probably went into these things having a game plan, know exactly what you were going to do the first day, the second day, you probably had to have organized so that you organized yourself and your time so that you could get everything done that you wanted to get done, whether it was getting books signed or talking to people or whatever, you know?
I would generally go, and it was similar to what we did on days 2 and 3, where I would set up and say, I'm going to get X, Y, and Z signed today. And I would go and I'd get those things signed, and then I'd wander around and see some cool shit that maybe I'd want to buy, or that I can only get at the con, or that kind of stuff, or stuff I'd been looking for a while. And then the next day I would go and get the rest of it signed. And day 2 was a lot easier because I would know the layout and I would know how to get to everywhere in the general vicinity of things. So that made it a whole lot easier once I got in and wanted to go get everything signed. For us, for our second day, that's kind of what we did.
That's pretty much what we did.
Friday, though, was Friday our Jinx World day? Was the day we just... No, Saturday was, huh?
Oh, no. Yeah. Wait. No. Friday was our Jinx World day.
No, I mean, we saw the Jinx World people.
But they were... Are you talking about when they were all together at the same table?
No, when we were like, we're going to get all our Bendis stuff
Okay,
signed.
no, yeah, that was the second day. That was the second day, yeah.
Because we basically set up, like, we're going to get all the Bendis stuff signed on day 2.
Which we honestly should have gotten all of that signed the first day.
Yes. If you go to a con on a Friday, you need to get all your shit for the most popular people, get it out, get it signed. Because day 2, all those people are going to be backed around the corner.
Yeah, because it ended up turning out that on a Friday, there is a lot of people who go, but then a lot of people are also at work. So it's not as congested. It's, you can move around freely. Zach, who was our lovely host.
Yeah, Zach and Taylor out in Portland. Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to them, yeah.
Thank you.
They were nice enough to let us stay with them. Zach went with us the first and second day. And day 1, he went around walking by himself, and he said he walked around the whole convention in like 10 minutes.
It was nuts. I was super impressed with that.
And, I mean, I think the first day I went walking around trying to look for a panel, and I was like, this place is huge. But, yeah, to be getting around in 10 minutes, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The second day was way more people.
Yeah, it was so much more people.
Yeah.
So there was the people at the freeway, the fucking freeway. So there was this line literally from the convention center about 3 blocks back. It wrapped around the convention center and went straight down several different blocks all the way to this fucking freeway.
Yeah.
And then according to Zach, it wrapped around some more, around a couple of more blocks. Mm-hmm. And I guess it wasn't until a little bit later they figured out how to more efficiently run the line. But the spectacle of that was fucking nuts.
Yeah, it was really crazy. I'd never seen anything like that. It was pretty crazy.
I knew it was going to be full, but when I saw that, I was like, that's another level. Holy shit.
Yeah, that was pretty great. So I want to talk about Jeff Parker really quick because he, out of everybody, he was just the nicest guy.
He really was.
He was just the nicest guy, and he sat and chatted with us for a good while, several times, and we met a lot of great people, but he was just so amicable with you. Like, it was just like seeing an old friend.
Yeah, he was great.
Do you want to talk about how you met him and all that? Or how long have you known each other, I guess? It's
weird. I've been a fan of his work since, I can't remember the year, but it was the year that Agents of Atlas,
okay,
one of his Marvel darlings, it was mainly his big work over at Marvel, had started an ongoing series. And it went, I think, 14 issues or something like that. But I went, and issue 1 had just come out. He just wrapped up a couple of fill-in issues on Hulk. And I realized I actually brought an issue of Hulk that he had, that he'd written for the guy that did the art on it.
Okay.
And that guy canceled. And
really?
Then I realized, I was like, hey, I got this Parker guy. I have this book that he actually wrote, so I'll just take it and get it signed by him. And So I do, and he goes, oh, wow, most people don't know that I wrote this. And I was like, oh, I didn't know until yesterday either. But I'd read it, and I just assumed that the main writer at the time, Greg Pak, had written it. Mm-hmm. But he'd just done because he'd been so busy with the big Hulk event that he'd just written a little bit of it. And then Jeff goes, have you checked out Agents of Atlas? And I said, no. And so he signs a book, and it was a issue 1, second print. Uh-huh. And he slides it over, and he goes, everybody that asks, you paid for this. I said, okay, thank you.
What a stand-up guy.
It really was.
What a stand-up
And it's
guy.
funny because we saw him do almost that exact same thing to a kid that was just standing in front of his booth.
That was like it was such a sweet moment. And I think sometimes it's almost like I never think people will do stuff like that, only because just like in every industry, everyone's out there to make money, which I get. I totally get everyone has to make a living. But you could tell that he was just like, I don't know, he was just like out there to make someone's like day. And that kind of like, I don't know, you don't see that a whole lot. And so it was like a really nice moment to see at the convention, and totally unexpected. And I'm sure if no one was watching, he would have done exactly the same thing. Like he wasn't doing that to like look like a good guy or get praise or anything. He just did that because that's who he is. Yeah.
And whenever I was doing that, nobody was around. There were people like walking the convention floor, but nobody was there. Like,
yeah.
And that was the moment I became a fan of his work. I read through, what was it? I read several things that he did after that. I didn't keep up with Agents of Atlas. In fact, I waited until he kind of had his final run on Atlas. He had a final series that he did. And then I went back and I digitally mapped out all the issues and the order they came out in.
Oh, nice.
And then I read it all front to back.
Yeah. You like to do that anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that quite a bit with just whatever I'm reading. That one was especially a task because it jumped around to different things, but it was so worth it. All of it was really, really good. And that kind of stuff is what made me a fan of his. His Thunderbolts was the big thing. That was the big one that I lined up, and I started catching up to current with it. And I regretted catching up to current with it because then I didn't have any more to binge.
Yeah, because it's that feeling of like, oh, I've gone through it already. Yeah.
And I would follow the monthly, and I did that for a little bit. And then eventually I just picked up all his Thunderbolt stuff, most of it in trade, and I still need a few trades.
Okay.
But yeah, like that, I followed him over to Batman 66 after that. And it was all because he signed that one issue for me, and I read it, and I went, this is good.
Yeah.
And then, from there on, I buy a lot of what he does.
He's great. He's
yeah.
great. Very quickly, before I forget, I want to give a shout out to Kelly Sue DeConnick and her husband, Matt Fraction, because they were great.
Was that your favorite part of the convention?
That was one big part of, like, my favorite thing that had happened. Those interactions, like, Kelly Sue DeConnick was just, like, such a, like, she was there to really make, like, a private moment with you, and she was talking to us about, like, these perfumes
she blew my mind.
Out. She was talking about these perfumes that are coming out. They're essentially scents that are being developed because of the Bitch Planet series, which is amazingly good. And the fact that she told us all that was like, what?
And then how she talked about the chemistry behind it.
Yeah.
And how each one is layered. And
she was very fascinated by all that stuff. And I was like, I would have never thought for her to be interested in something like that. But she's a storyteller, so it makes sense. Oh,
that was what she made it very clear. That blew her mind too.
Yeah.
As, being a storyteller, that you could tell a story with smells.
With smells. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of all things. And then Matt Fraction was kind enough to give us a list of stuff to check out in Portland, music shops and some comic book shops, and that was really great. I would have loved for him to have just been my tour in Portland, my tour guide, I think that would have been neat.
That would have been cool to spend a day with him out there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It was funny because when we got to Matt Fraction, we probably waited for, 15 minutes?
I think so. We waited like a good 15 minutes.
And so I got to the point where I just sat on the ground, like in this little line area.
It might have been 20, but...
Yeah, but the
it was
thing...
so worth the wait.
That was the thing. Like, I was just like, oh, I'm going to have to sign this book. I'm going to have him sign my Sex Criminals issue, and then we'll dip. And it was almost like we could not get away from him.
Yeah.
And I wasn't trying to, like, pull on that once I realized he was invested in that few moments.
Yeah, he was invested in the conversation, which was really nice.
Yeah, and with our he was invested when we told him we were on a trip, and he really wanted to make sure that, in those few moments that we were having a great trip, and he could contribute to that.
Yeah, he was great. I'm only going to briefly mention the panel that we went to together because it was pretty great, and Jeff Parker was on it, and a lot of other really great creators.
Oh, Parker Brothers?
Parker Brothers panel. So Jeff Parker was on it, Matt Johnson, Ibrahim Mustafa, and Alyssa Sala. And
David Brothers.
And David Brothers was moderating the panel. It was really great.
That dude knows his shit. Like, I have more respect for him than almost anybody else in the industry, just because, especially as far as like journalists and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because he doesn't and I feel like this is just him in general. Is no one gets away with any bullshit with him whatsoever. Like none. Like none of it seeps through. I mean, he just clears the bullshit, says what's up, and he's usually right on the money with it.
Yeah, I had such a good time, like, just hearing them talk about what they love to do most. And I could have sat there for, like, the rest of the day and just heard heard them bullshit, or not bullshit, but heard them just talk about comics all day, because it was so infinitely entertaining. And I'm a writer, and I think of myself as, now I'm starting to think of myself more of a writer than I used to before. So hearing them talk about the process.
I'm not saying that to kiss your ass. I mean, what I've read, I've really enjoyed.
Thank you. But I love hearing
I mean, I
people
can
talk
kiss
about...
your ass later, though,
Oh,
right?
gosh. I love hearing people talk about the process. And so that was a big highlight of the convention for me, too. That panel was just... It was kind of like life-changing in a way. Not to exaggerate.
Really?
Not to exaggerate, but it was like life-changing, because there's something so inspiring about seeing people who are doing something that they love. And I think especially when you're a creative person and you haven't done anything creatively, like, it kind of sparks something in you, especially if you feel artistically, like, starved. And that has been very much the case for me the last few years. So being around you and being around the podcast, being around all of those people, and being there at that panel just kind of woke me up and made me go, I need to be doing something. And it's not for anyone else. It's, everything I do for me. But it was just a good moment.
That's awesome. I mean, you're not the first person I've ever heard say that coming out of a panel or out of a convention. But it's been a long time since I've heard that. And I just I guess I get content of where I'm at and what I'm doing. And I'm just content with, I guess, me as a creator right now, or lack thereof sometimes. And I think it's really cool to see to see something that kind of puts the electricity to the motor.
Oh yeah, totally. And I have the same experiences when I go see, live music. And it doesn't happen often, but when it does, like, that's kind of it always happens at, like, the right time in my life. So I can think of a couple different experiences where that's happened, or I'll go to an art gallery or whatever, anything artistically happening, that seems to be the case. And this was what I needed. So yeah, that was pretty fun.
You have, like, a list of shit over there.
I do, I've marked down a lot of what, so the last thing we're going to do is we're going to do our non-Dave Meltzer scale rating.
The not Dave Meltzer scale?
The not Dave Meltzer scale rating. And what would you rate Rose City Comic Con on this?
On the not Dave Meltzer scale?
What would you give it?
Gosh. You go first. I fucking have to think of this shit ahead of time.
Okay. You know me.
I have known you a little bit.
You
yes.
have known me a little bit. But if you know me really well, you know that I'm a big Halloween fan. Love Halloween. I love everything it encompasses.
Is Jamie Lee Curtis your favorite?
No. And actually, I'm really sad I didn't get to go see Linda Blair at Rose City Comic Con. That was the only downer. But, because I love The Exorcist and she's awesome.
So you're not talking about like the Michael Myers and all that shit. You're talking about
I'm talking about the holiday and like everything it encompasses. Like I just love it. It's like better than Christmas to me. I know.
Okay.
Wild.
Okay.
But to me, I would give it like it's like that feeling right the day right before Halloween, and you're like, oh my God, I'm so excited, it's here, and that's what I feel. Okay. That's what I felt.
So the day before Halloween.
Yeah, it's like all the nervous and excited energy and the
Halloween anticipation.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your not Dave Meltzer scale rating.
And I love Halloween candy, so yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah, that shit's great.
It's great.
All right, I would give this on the not Dave Meltzer scale. Sushi. And not just any sushi. We have a local place in town called Miyazaki, and that's my favorite sushi. And I could easily just be like, sushi, and that's it. No. It's a week's worth of dinner over there. That's how I felt about this convention. It made me happy. I loved being around it. I loved the atmosphere. Being around you, I guess, was okay a lot.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing ever. Except for our sleeping situation.
Let's not remember
I hit you
that.
in the face.
Yeah, let's not talk about sleep fighting for a while.
I was asleep, though. Just remember that.
Yeah.
And if you had beat the shit out of me, I would have deserved it.
Okay.
So you have my... In fact, that's now... If for whatever reason you feel assaulted by me while I'm asleep...
This is not podcast info.
What do you mean? I'm giving you public, this is public knowledge. You can beat the fuck...
Oh, this is a PSA.
Yeah, you can beat the fuck out of me. You can retaliate. If I, for whatever reason, hit you in my sleep, you can wake me up with a punch to the face. Or just, like, knocking me off the fucking bed.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
Like, that's an okay thing. I'm fine with that.
Oh, my gosh. Okay.
So...
All right, I will remember this. I hope you remember you said this out loud.
Well,
too.
it's recorded in posterity forever.
All right. So the last thing I want to say, and this is my suggestion for the following episode, I would really love if you talked about Border Town. I would love to hear your review on Border Town. I read the comic when we were driving up to Portland. I loved it. The last couple pages just like made my effing day. Made my fucking day.
I got a Sluggo's Lit graffiti variant.
And now I want a Sluggo is Lit print, and I'm kind of mad that I didn't get one. But
you could have got a fucking original. We were right there.
I know.
You want me to see if I can get you one?
I think I have to establish myself as a fan first before I can go there. But I
think
did
you've
really...
established yourself as a fan.
I don't know. But yeah, you should talk about that on the next one. Okay. And your good friend Ramon.
Yeah, the homie.
The homie.
Yeah,
Ramon
it was funny.
Lobos. He's a Stockton native.
I'd be like, oh, where'd you come from, Stockton? Oh, I think Ramon's from there. Yeah, him and I, came up doing comics together. Oh, that's neat. Yeah, sure. No, I have a lot of fond memories of making mini comics and doing... We did a ton of signings and that kind of stuff, and so, maybe I'll get into some of that in the next episode.
Yeah, I would love that.
Should I stick to the 3 times a week shit, or what do you think I should do?
I think because you've got to ease back into things, yeah. I think you should start off with 1 episode a week and then go back to 2, and then slowly go to 2, and then slowly go back to 3.
Okay.
Because I think if you try to do it all at once, it's going to be too much and overwhelming.
And it'll be like another 3 months, and that'll be it.
And then, I'm going to get really mad.
Shit.
and make you do this
I
with me
keep
again.
playing with that hair clip. It's just so gives my hands something to do.
I know, that's
but
why
it makes noises, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
Why can't the world be silent?
Just, tough shit, kid.
That's a good point. All right. As far as wrestling goes,
What's going on with wrestling? Are you gonna do a wrestling?
I'm not
segment?
gonna go into wrestling right now.
Okay.
But I will say I have been keeping up with it. I'll probably focus a little bit on wrestling. If I'm doing one episode a week, I'll give the Raw and SmackDown shit. I know we got Hell in a Cell coming up this Sunday, and I've been keeping up pretty good. I'll have everything watched usually by Wednesday. So if you're a fan of my wrestling shit and my wrestling POV, if you're not, that'll still be there. I'm probably going to do less comic reviews and just talk more about comic shit.
Okay.
Just comic shit like this.
Okay, that's great.
So
mix it up.
Yeah.
For
so
sure.
if you have any questions for me, hit me up on all the social medias.
Yeah, he's on Twitter. He's on Instagram.
At Adam S. Messinger.
He's no longer on Craigslist, so don't go there.
No, I took that down whenever they took down their whole...
don't go there. Don't go there. Okay.
I'm not a prostitute anymore, damn it. And it hurt my soul when they took that down.
I'm also on Twitter, and I'm also on Instagram. Adam's handle is Adam S. Messinger.
We're not talking about me. You're talking about you right now.
I know, and I'm talking
you
about
just
your
said
Twitter
I'm
handle.
on Instagram, and then you gave him my handle.
Yeah.
So,
but if you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Instagram under Bubblegum Becky. That's also my Twitter handle of the same name. Yeah. And usually I'm talking about whatever dumb stuff Adam has me doing, like this. Just kidding.
Well, at least you're honest. That's part of why I love you.
50% of what I tweet has to do with you, but
yeah.
Usually you're tagged in it.
Yeah, I am very appreciative that you do that and that you care about me.
Oh, don't get all mushy now.
And thankful. So that's it for this episode. Thank you, my love.
You're welcome.
For doing this and getting me off my ass to do this. Thank you to Ted, who edited this episode.
Yeah, thank you, Ted.
Thank you to Dandelion Massacre, who did our theme song, as usual.
As usual. Great theme song. It gets stuck in my head. Did I tell you that? It gets stuck
in my head
all
What's
the time.
funny is I get way more compliments about the theme song than I ever do the podcast. Like, people don't give a shit what I have.
Dandelion Massacre.
People don't give a shit what I have to say. They just get into the get into the song and they're like, "That's awesome," and they hear me and they're like, "Eh." And I'm like, I get it.
Yeah, and if you want me to come back and co-host, I'm always available, dude.
Well, I fucking, you can do whatever you want. You're you.
Okay, so I'll just send you the tracks separately.
So you can do, whatever you want to do with you're involved in my everything because I love you. So and then Dan Faughdner did our graphics, and I will see you all.
Hopefully, what do you want to do?
Next Friday?
Next Friday or next Wednesday?
Next Friday.
Next Friday, okay.
Or no, you know what? Next Wednesday does sound good.
Next Wednesday?
Yeah, because then that's after all the wrestling shit.
Yeah, do that.
All right, then I'll see you next Wednesday. Peace out.
Peace out, y'all.